Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you to another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the pens I've been using and hauling around with me all week. And as always, yes, there are more pens inked up, but these are the ones that I'm using this week. So let's dive into them. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, maybe a pen here struck your fancy, or an ink, or maybe you can talk to me about that ink that I have in my PenBBS, who knows? So let's dive into the pens. So this week I'm writing with Visconti Homo Sapiens. I got it out again. That's my cure for its failed my pen system. There is glue holding that in place, and that is how it is. I have my Visconti Mirage, which it turns out that is a my pen system. I've done this one as a first impression. I always try to do at least two full fills on a pen before I think about reviewing it. So this is its second. A Majestic, which is a third-tier U.S. manufacturer, one of my early repair jobs, and apparently a little green ink got splashed on it. I think it's very attractive. A Skrikss 419, which is a Turkish pen. Waterman Karen. My first impression for this week, PenBBS 456. Which is a vac filler, a Lamy 27E, vintage Lamy, I believe a Descendant, which is the Lamy 2000. I wanted to talk about the nib and ink since I brought it up last week, and finally a Geha Boy, which was a student pen in Germany. As always, I'll be using my Bomo art journal. So the first pen I have up is my Visconti Homo Sapiens. It's starting to pick up condensation because it's been down here in the basement for a little while I filmed other videos. Lava from Mount Etna, which is interesting. Hook system for the nib, or I'm sorry, for the cap. Platinum nib, which I just recently learned is made by Bach. I have shown some interesting Bach nibs just lately. And it's sort of like the PenBBS, a similar filling system inside. The ink in it is a Noodlers, American made. Black Swan, in English Rose, which is a rather attractive ink and kind of interesting. The shading, from red to dark. Also, because this pen is a very wet pen, it takes a while for the stuff to dry. So a while back I did my first impression of a Visconti Mirage. I think I mentioned that I used to want a Van Gogh Sunflowers from Visconti, but for two reasons I didn't. One was some reviewers are not speaking kindly about Visconti. The other reason was I didn't like the metal section. Well, this does not have a metal section, and I just really wanted it. So I took a gamble, and so far I'm pleased. This has a broad nib. Of course, it's a steel nib. It's not palladium like the Homo Sapiens, which is fine. Also Bach, I guess. The ink in it is Private Reserve. Shoreline Gold. Which is orange, but a very attractive orange. So I had avoided the brand for several years because of fears of stuff in the bottle. I even had an incidence of that. But from my understanding, they have overcome those quality control issues and now have, well, they have some very nice colors. What can I say? This next pen, one of my restoration projects from a while ago, a couple of years ago, I guess. I felt like, need to review this thing. It's a third-tier U.S. manufacturer. It's a Majestic. I think it deserves the name. It's beautiful. The nib is nothing special. I told you, it's a third tier. Probably a steel nib. It really does not show off this ink at all. But it is what it is. Herbin Lie de Thé. That is an ink with some nice shading, just you don't get to see it. This is a Skrikss 418. This is a Turkish pen. And I guess the model is no longer made, but Skrikss is still a going concern in Turkey. It still is a company there. Still making some very nice looking pens. As I recall, this is a medium nib. The ink is a sample I tried thanks to Chris Sains. Did a video on this ink, and I just thought, wow, that's a really nice color. Not that I needed more ink, but what the heck, we'll try a sample. So this is Noodlers Purple Mountain Majesty. I grew up for a long time in the Appalachian Mountains. In fact, I lived near Peters Mountain. We used to go over Peters Mountain to get to Harrisburg, which was our city. Noodler's Purple Mountain Majesty. And there's something about the mountains that always was kind of cool, especially in the evening or in the morning when they're kind of off color. Definitely nothing like that color, but I used to hike. We used to go hike on part of the Appalachian Trail on Peters Mountain sometimes. It crossed, what was it, Route 272? I don't remember. It's been too long. Hairpin curve there. And the house that was right there had a smiley face painted on the roof, which was kind of cool. But anyway, then we moved to another part of the state where we were in the Allegheny Mountains, and then I came to North Dakota, where I have buttes and no mountains. This is I have to say, there's a lot more topography here than most parts of the state, and we even have a forest in this part of the state, so got that going for us. This is a Waterman Karen. I've done a review on this pen. I quite like it. Very solid. Don't look for any flecks, but just a very good pen. A medium nib. I hear they sell other sizes than medium and fine, but they're kind of hard to find. I've vaguely been keeping my eye open, but at the same time, this is almost broad enough for me with this pen. Noodler's Antietam, which is a interesting rust color. Kind of like Diamine Ancient Copper, but it doesn't have the crusting problem that Diamine Ancient Copper has. Of course, it comes with Noodler's issues, but that's another story. For my first impression this week, I filmed a video of the PenBBS 456. Love these finishes that PenBBS is using. And Geha has a couple pens with these, and where they're just kind of, they change color. I like that a lot. I will say, I will probably never use this ink in a pen review again. I will also say it seems to have dried up. Yay! Oh. And I will also say, and I'm blaming the ink for this puppy, that may be all the more writing I get. Let's see here if we can talk it into some writing off screen. Usually when I'm having trouble writing, I'll kind of wipe the nib. But you know when I was talking about crusties, or wet the nib with a little bit of water? When I was talking about crusties a few minutes ago with diamine ancient copper, that's kind of what I was talking about. So, I think you know that I usually film these a few days ahead. Yeah, done with that. So, true story. Even though I'm uploading this at the end of the week, this will not be in my daily writer for the week. That's getting washed out, so I'll have to find another worthy pen. The ink, by the way, if you're curious, it's written down below, but it's Krishna Kanikonna. So that'll be interesting. This is why I do at least 2 full fills. Was that the ink? Or is that drying out thing going to be a problem with this pen model? You don't know till you've used the pen and lived with it for a while, and that's why I don't do reviews right away. First impressions are fun, but not always... you don't always have all your facts when you do them. So Lamy 27E, this has an oblique broad nib on it. This is a pen which I plan to film its review sometime, maybe this coming weekend. With the oblique broad nib on it, I wanted a shading ink. So I put one in it that I have not used in a long time. I'm close to emptying the bottle, so you may be seeing this ink a lot because I'd kind of like to empty the bottle. I like the ink, but I don't think I'll be replacing it because I've found other inks I like better. They come with fewer problems, let's say. That said, I think this pen writes very well. Enjoy the oblique broad. It's definitely not as broad as the broad on my Lamy 2000 broad, but hey. And speaking of Lamy 2000, I'm not going to show this every week, I don't think, but I thought it was worth bringing it out again this week because last week I said the nib seems to have changed. It's writing much broader and wetter than it did before. And that's, of course, you know, if you know its history, I dropped it nib first on the floor and destroyed the old nib, so I had to buy a new one. So before I sent it off to a nib smith or, decided to buy an extra fine to replace it, I thought, why don't I just try a different ink? So I had a sample of this. Pelikan Edelstein Onyx. Oops, and I misspelled onyx. And I thought it wrote much better with this ink in it. And it behaved way better on cheap paper with this ink. So there's last week what I was getting with the Lamy Black. I just rewrote the word black in onyx. They look a lot the same to me on this paper, but I am seeing a little less feathering around this. And just in general, I feel like, and this is a feel, not a measured thing, so keep that in mind. Oh, and I smeared the ink. But I feel like it's writing better with this ink. This Geha boy is in its second fill. First fill was also with a Parker Quink. It was Parker Quink Washable Blue. This afternoon, I was writing a page in a letter, and it suddenly started being starved of ink about 2/3 down the page, which I hadn't run into before. Now, I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but after I got sick of it, I pushed this switch up, pulled it back down, and it started writing normally. Now what the switch is for is it's for a reserve tank. When you're out of ink, you push that up and you get those last few drops out of the pen. I don't know. You know, when you fill it and you push the piston down, it pushes the switch down. I don't know why it was starved, but it's been behaving just fine ever since. I believe this Parker Quink green is actually a very attractive shade of green. Back when I was in college, I had a bottle of Parker came out with these Penman inks, and I had a bottle of Onyx and I had a bottle of Emerald. I loved that Emerald. I was just curious. I looked on eBay recently. The cheapest bottle of Emerald I could find was $75, and no, that will remain forever a memory. I'm not paying that kind of money for a flippin' bottle of ink. But those are the pens and inks that I'm using this week. Hope you found something interesting there. I don't really have any special topic. You know, snowing outside. I shoveled 2 days in a row, so I guess winter is finally starting here in North Dakota. But I look at my friends in the east, including my family in the east, parents living in the Allegheny Mountains, my brother living in the Adirondacks, and I think, wow, I got off pretty easy this winter so far. It's North Dakota, so who knows what will come. Went to the grocery store today, and that was somewhat interesting because the city had not been out. And but that said, I am home and filming reviews. Had Martin Luther King Day off. Yes, now you know the day I filmed all these. I am wearing the same shirt all week. But next week I will be doing my big platinum video. That is a this weekend project because I have both days of the weekend free. So, very excited about that. And other exciting news? I guess I don't have any. Cooking all vegetarian meals this week, so getting my 6 vegetarian meals a week in. Just finished before I came down to film this, a vegetarian chili with wheat berries as kind of the meat. And then it has white beans and kidney beans in it, and tomatoes and peppers and onions, and I don't know, I ate a little bit of it. It filled me up super fast, so I guess I wasn't as hungry as I thought, but whatever. Or maybe it's just really filling, but anyway, very happy to be doing that. I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan by any means, but I think 6 vegetarian meals is good, and it's cheaper. Helps me afford more fountain pens, right? So, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And if you'd like to talk about any of these pens, or if you appreciate me giving them a twirl as I named each one, or if you'd prefer I keep it the way I did before and just twirl them as I talk about each pen individually, let me know down in the comments. And maybe you can tell me something about that Krishna, look up the name here, Kanikonna ink. Or your PenBBS 456, is yours drying out or is it the ink? I guess I will find out when I empty this out and refill it with something else. So, thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.